This is our dynamic warm-up for soccer teams to get ready prior to practice or games. The goal here is not only to get the players ready to perform better, but also to utilize this time to reduce injury risk, in particular ACL risk. So we'll go over some of the teaching points that you want to be looking for as a coach as you go through this. What your team's going to need is they're going to need a mini exercise band, they're going to need a soccer ball, which they'll already have, and then themselves. Okay, so here we go. First one we're going to do is high knees. We're going 10 yards down, 10 yards back. Then we'll go butt kickers. Okay, down and back. Forward walking lunge. As we do this, we're looking to get a nice stretch in the hip. Some athletes will like to do a twist, so you can come down and then kind of rotate, get a little bit of an extra stretch. One other way to get a little extra stretch is to put your arms in the air above you, so to kind of come down and lean back, throwing the hip into it to get a little bit of an extra stretch in the hip joint there. Next stretch will be our side lunge. We're going to hit side to side and then flip. Keeping both feet relatively flat on the ground versus letting the feet cave in. We want to keep those feet flat. Get a stretch in the adductor groin area. This next stretch is our spider stretch, or the world's greatest stretch. So you're going to lunge out. Both hands are going to go on the inside of the ankle. As you do this, you don't want your knee, that front knee, to go past the toe. Athletes that are pretty mobile might be able to even get like their elbow down towards the ground. Most athletes are just going to put their hands down. While you're doing this stretch, you can also do a rotation, so you can come down and then rotate out to get a little bit of a deeper stretch, a little bit of a different stretch. Next stretch is going to be our Frankensteins. So going kind of opposite hand, opposite foot. Nice and easy as you do it. We don't want to be kicking too hard on the way up. Next stretch is our thigh stretch. You're going to be grabbing your back ankle, get a little bit of a stretch, hold it. You can put your arm in the air and pull that foot back a little bit if you'd like. Get a little bit of an extra stretch through the thigh. Next stretch will be our figure 4. Leg cradles. You can also, if needed, you can also come down as you do it. So you can pull the shin up, but you could also sit into the figure 4 to get the stretch. We're looking for the stretch in the hip, the outside of the hip here. You don't need to hold it for very long. Just need to hit that stretch, feel it, and then pop out, move on. At this point, we've gone through all of our dynamic stretches. The heart rate's starting to get up there, but we're going to want to boost it up a little bit more before we get into our activation and some of our movement drills, our plyometrics and whatnot. So now we're going to go high skips or cherry pickers down and back. Looking for opposite arm, opposite knee, driving up at the same time. So as the right arm comes up, the left knee comes up. As the left arm comes up, the right knee comes up. Okay, awesome. Then we're going to do side shuffle. Make sure they face the same way, down and back versus rotating. Otherwise, they just do the same side. So we're going to side shuffle, down and back. Then our last one will be karaoke. Warm up the upper body with 10 push-ups. When we do our push-ups, we're looking for the elbows to make a 45-degree angle with the spine. So the spine's here. We're looking for those elbows to go out at a 45-degree angle, as if we kind of have a big towel rolled up in our armpits and we're able to hold that towel there. We don't need the arms right next to the body. We also don't want them flailed out at a 90-degree angle. So then we'll go into a front plank. When we do our front plank, it's really important that the low back stays flat here. We don't want this to be sinking in like that. Okay, that can cause a pinch in the low back, especially if you hold it for a while. We'll generally hold for about a minute, but depending on your team, you might want to start with about 30 seconds here. Get a nice core warm up, stability warm up. Okay, so after you've done that for 30 seconds, we'll then stand up. We're gonna do 10 squats and 3 squat jumps. Okay, when we do the squats, what we want to cue and start cueing the athletes on, because we're going to be getting into some of our activation and plyometric work here, is we do not want the knees caving in. Okay, so as the athlete's doing the drill, if their knees cave in on the way down or up, we want to be cueing that that's not the right way to do it. We want to be telling them that the knee, ankle, and hip should be aligned relatively. Okay, knees over ankles, not allowing them to cave in on the way up or down. That's a ACL risk. Okay, and especially on landings here, you do the 3 jumps, make sure those knees are right above the ankles, okay? So now we're on to the second phase of our warm-up. This is our activation phase. What we're working on here is getting the glutes and the hamstrings and the adductors fired up and ready to go. Oftentimes athletes, they sit at school all day, their glutes, their hamstrings, their hips, they're not really active throughout the day like they should be. And so we want to warm those up and get those muscles activated. That will help their performance. It'll also help reduce injury risk. So this first exercise we're going to do is a lateral band walk. We're going to put the exercise mini band around our feet. We're going to keep our feet shoulder width apart so we can maintain tension in the band, and then we step and step. Do not let the athlete drag that back foot. It's a step and a step. Okay? Picking that foot up off the ground and very gently bringing it across. Controlled. The athlete should feel it in their glute med, which is on the side of their hip and glute. They should not only feel it in their thighs. They might feel it a little bit there, but we really want to make sure they're firing their glute med. Okay, the second exercise we're going to do is going to be our hip clams. So we're going to get on our side here, put the exercise band around the knee, lay down on our side, okay? Our heels are together, our top hand is pushing down into the ground to help us not externally rotate the hip. We're gonna lift up and back down, firing the glute med. So the athlete should feel it back here, okay, in the back of the hip. So with the lateral band walks, we can do 10 down, 10 back, and with the hip clams, we can do 10 on each side. The next exercise we're going to do will be without a band. The next 2 actually. We're going to fire up now our hamstrings and our adductors. So we're going to lay down, we're going to do a single leg hip thrust with 1 foot. When we do this, if we want to get more hamstring, we'll push that heel a little farther out. If we want to get a little bit more glute, we'll bring it in, okay? And we'll do 10 aside. We'll bring the hips up, thrusting through the knee, or through the heel, excuse me, to push the hips up, hold for about half a second, and then control on the way down. Again, if we put that foot a little farther out, we're going to activate that hamstring a little bit more and get that fired up for practice or game. This last drill, we're going to be laying down here. We're going to do a adductor squeeze, a glute bridge with an adductor squeeze. Since all the kids have a soccer ball, we're going to use that. We're going to put that between our knees. Okay, feet are slightly outside of shoulder width. We're going to glute bridge up and squeeze the soccer ball for 3 seconds, and then come back down. We'll do 10 repetitions of this as well. So we've done 4 exercises here: lateral band walks, hip clams, single leg hip thrust, and a glute bridge with adductor squeeze. We'll do 2 rounds of these, 10 reps every exercise. That will complete our phase 2 of the warm-up. This is the third phase of our warm-up. This is the plyometric phase, and this might be one of the most important in terms of really teaching the athletes how to land properly. Good landing mechanics are going to help reduce injury risk, in particular ACL risk. And so the principle here that we're looking for is when the athlete lands, we want to see the knee above the ankle. We don't want to see it caving in as they land. And so as a coach, just make sure you're constantly looking for that they're landing strong and controlled with the knee over the ankle. So this first exercise is going to be an Icky shuffle with a lateral hop. You can do about 10 of these, 5 each way, and then we'll go to a vertical jump. when we do the vertical jump, same thing. We don't want to see those knees cave in on the way down or up. We can do 10 of those really quick. Depending on your team, you might want to add an additional set of this. If that's something that they're really working on and they need to get better at their landing mechanics, you can do that. Otherwise, one set of these plyometric exercises is a good way to get the athletes warmed up and ready for practice or game. This is the fourth phase of our warm-up. This is our build-up to sprint phase, where we're getting the athletes ready for cutting and sprinting and deceleration, okay? That's all gonna be part of this phase. The first thing we're gonna do are build-ups. These build-ups, when we're going, we want the athletes, we generally do about 4 build-ups. Those build-ups will take anywhere between 40 to 50 yards to do. The athlete is going to build up to a percentage of their top speed and then slowly build back down. So they'll build up to 80%, taper down, build up to 90, taper down, build up to 95, and then eventually 100. This is a really good time for you to be talking to your athletes. If something does not feel right during build-ups, that you need to let the coach know, because oftentimes that is a little bit of a sign that either a hamstring is a little weak, not fully activated, a hip flexor maybe was pulled in the game prior and the athlete kind of forgot about it. They start doing build-ups and they start to feel that, either the hip flexor or the hamstring, they need to let you know. So use this as a time of kind of gauging, like, how's everyone feeling? They should feel good. There shouldn't be any pain. If they have that, you might want to check in and see what's going on prior to extending this warm-up with them, because once they get to full out sprints, that's where we're at a little bit of more of an elevated injury risk. Okay, so this first build up, we'll just kind of build up to 80%. Again, it's a nice slow build up, hit 80%, taper back down. Okay, and then we'll do this about 4 times. As a coach, you can determine how many you want to do. Build up to about 90%, taper down, build up to 95, and then ultimately 100. This second exercise that we're going to do is working on deceleration, forward and backwards. So we're going to sprint forward, we're going to decel, get down to a stop, come backwards, and then sprint it out. Again, we're not quite going 100% yet on some of these sprints. We're just getting the body moving here. So we go up 5, back 5, up 10, back 10, okay, up 15, back 15. And we get some good movement, get the heart rate up, we're getting ready for practice. The last one we're gonna do here is cutting. And now this is really important, because this is generally where our non-contact ACL injuries are occurring, is when an athlete cuts or when they decelerate. And so when they cut, the knee's caving in, and we want a cue for the athletes, let them know that we want really good knee over toe. And so Coach Overman here is gonna demonstrate this on the way down and on the way back. You're gonna cut at a 45-degree angle, decel, and then plant, really focusing on the plant, okay? And then exploding out of it.